Good morning po. So for today we're going to continue the discussion doon sa requirement for healthier society. We have discussed doon sa first part of the video yung what is the required standard of living. Para masabi natin ng isang society, yung mga taong nakatira doon ay pasok sa standards. Paano ba ano yung sukatan ng standard of living? And we have mentioned doon that not only doon sa quality of life, like for example, there is a peace going on, walang masyadong kaguluhan. There are standard of living measured through the output of the nation. So yung tinatawag natin gross domestic product per capita ng isang bansa. It is divided among the populations, and then the result of that is the standard of living ng mga nakatira sa isang country. Now, there are other measures of standard of living by international institutions such as yung sa UN. They uses yung Human Development Index. Sa iba naman, yung katulad sinabi ko kanina, yung purchasing power parity, okay, same. Also, the measurement kung gaano karami yung amount ng nabibili ng pera natin dito sa country natin, is it the same pag dinala mo na ito or nagpunta ka na ng ibang bansa? Yung tinatawag natin purchasing power parity. And we have discussed this, the developed countries, how they measure yung kanilang standard of living. Now, we're going to move doon sa policies na ginagawa ng mga high-income countries in order to maintain at pataasin pa yung standard of living. So for high-income countries such as US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, those who are part of the North, yung kanilang ginagawa or what they usually focused on is yung more educated workforce. And sabi dito, continually for a more educated workforce that create, invest in, and apply new technologies. So, the more na mas educated yung workforce natin, ibig sabihin, those na nakakapag-graduate ng 4-year course or a degree being useful either in businesses, in economics, in engineering, science, and technology, na nakikinabang ang isang nation sa kanila. So, the other policies, no, yung mga fiscal policies, no? For example, meron tayong monetary fiscal policies and monetary policies such as expansionary fiscal policy, expansionary monetary policy, na ang focus nun ay to increase investment, what else? Increase production and consumption. Yan. Another thing na ginagamit ng mga high-income countries in order to increase the standard of living ay yung making sure that their monetary policy, no, it keeps inflation low or stable. Okay? Yung inflation is the rising of the prices of commodities. Kasi if there is an inflation, the income, the take-home pay ng mga workers natin might not be enough to use for consumption. Okay, halimbawa masyadong mahal ang mga bilihin, yung 30,000 pesos na kinikita ng isang worker might only buy few products or a basket of goods, no? Instead of that 30,000 will purchase more baskets of commodities or services. If there is inflation, may mataas na presyo ng bilihin, hindi niya mabibili lahat ng mga nais niya or mga pangailangan. And there is what we call opportunity cost at nagsasacrifice ng mga ibang need. And ayun po. This is the an illustration of the GDP, real GDP in billions of constant dollars against sa price level. Sabi natin sa inflation, there are yung monetary policies make or it enables na mapababa yung inflation rate or maging stable yung money flow sa isang bansa. So dapat hindi mas mataas yung prices. Kumbaga, yung presyo ng bilihin ay akma pa rin doon sa kinikita ng mga tao doon sa bansang yon. However, early in the second decade of 2000, marami dito sa mga high-income countries, they focus dun sa tinatawag nating short-term goals, not long-term goals. Halimbawa, nung 2008, nagkaroon ng recession. The United States, some countries sa Europe, Japan, they have experienced yung tinatawag nating financial crisis. Especially, nung time kung saan nagka-problema sa mortgages, talagang most of the banking institutions ay bumagsak or halos magsara because dun sa after effects nung tinatawag nating recession. And madaming number, ang effect nun, nagsarado ang mga kumpanya, nagtanggal ng mga tao, nag-lay off, nagbawas ng mga opportunity. So, naging result nun, mas kokonti yung merong kinikita. And that leads to recession. Most of the government took aggressive and in some cases controversial steps to jumpstart their economies by running very large budget deficits as part of expansionary fiscal policy. Ito po tayong tinatawag nating expansionary fiscal policy kasi meron tayong dalawang klase ng fiscal policy. The expansionary fiscal policy, the contractionary fiscal policy. These policies used by the leaders in order, halimbawa, pag maganda yung takbo ng ekonomiya ng bansa natin at masyadong maraming economic activity, nagkakaroon ng contractionary fiscal policy wherein babawasan yung economic activity para hindi masyadong maraming economic activity. Pag expansionary naman, halimbawa, ito ay nagpapadagdag ng demands, ng investment para may gumalaw na pera sa isang bansa. These are terms and topics discussed sa economics. I know that it will probably difficult for us to really understand yung mga terms like fiscal policies. To make it more clear na lang, itong mga policies na to, minsan ng mga gobyerno, mga government sa isang bansa, yung short-term activities such as implementing either expansionary fiscal policy or contractionary fiscal policy is not futuristic. Saglitan lang na magsusolve ng economic problems but eventually nagkukos sometime pagkatapos ng mga ilang taon ng financial crisis or recession. So, hindi ito nakakatulong sa pag-angat ng standard of living. Now, there are banks, itong tinatawag nating expansionary monetary policies. It invites businesses or mga businessmen for investment. Ibig sabihin, yung mga gustong magnegosyo, kapag meron tayong high expansionary fiscal policy, we allow them to borrow money with low interest. Okay? Near zero to interest. So kapag halimbawa ang mga banking institutions sa Philippines, they offered low interest loans, maraming maiinggan yung mga businessmen ang mag-loan, ang mag-try to put up business or expand their business, of which ang result nun sa ekonomiya natin, mas madami ang production. Okay? Halimbawa, if there is a big need for tumaas yung demand ng mga goods and services, pero kulang yung supplier. Halimbawa, marami ang gustong bumili ng cake, pero iisa lang ang bake shop. So, if iisa lang ang bake shop at maraming gustong bumili na buyer, hindi mapupunan nung iisang bake shop lang yung lahat ng pangangailangan ng mga taong gusto bumili ng cake. So, kasi nga, dahil isang supplier, kailangan merong mga other suppliers. And it takes money to make money. So, they need to borrow or create a loan sa mga banking institutions. So, mag-open yun sa mga businessmen to have loans and investment para mapunan yung mga pangailangan. If that is the case, no, maganda sa ekonomiya, maraming lalabas na pera, maraming i-create na money na mag-circulate sa nation. Now, this sometimes is parang tinatawag natin delikado na mas marami yung economic activity. Kasi kaya nga merong contractionary fiscal monetary policy para ibaba ng kaunti yung flow. Parang hindi kasi pwedeng masyadong mataas na mataas. Merong negative effect yun. This is what happened doon sa Japan noong 2012. Ang bagong Prime Minister nila si Shinzo Abe. After he became the Prime Minister of Japan, no, before his term, ang Japan meron siyang 2-decade long slump in economic growth. Ibig sabihin po, mabagal yung pag-increase ng ekonomiya. Although we observe that Japan is the most industrialized, no, isa sa mga pinakamayamang bansa. Pero hindi, sa kanila, no, nakakaramdam pa sila nung mabagal na pag-angat ng ekonomiya. Dahil po sa mataas masyado yung fiscal stimulus, it increases the money supply. The more na marami ang in-invite or marami ang mas mababa yung interest rates ng mga bank, maraming gusto magnegosyo. Kailangan mo mag-supply ng maraming pera. Kasi it takes money to make money, sabi nga natin. Yan. Now, this is the picture, this is the situation for highly developed countries. Paano naman yung mga developing, like the Philippines, and low-income countries natin? So dito, we're going to explain the growth policies for middle-income economies. So, hindi nakasama dito ang US, Japan, Australia, Canada, yung mga the part of the North, yung mga mayayamang bansa. Dito yung developing or yung sabi natin mga middle-income economies. For the past few decades, mula 1970s, merong mga countries or nations na lumutang, kumbaga na parang naging mas yumayaman. So ang tawag sa kanila ay East Asian Tigers. Kasama po diyan ang South Korea, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. Though sometimes, no, most of the time sinasama po ang Hong Kong at saka ang Taiwan. Pero because of international law, ang China ay ang Hong Kong at Japan ay kino-consider na part ng China. So the East Asian Tigers, South Korea, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Okay. If we're going to consider per country, but if we're going to focus doon sa international law, some parts of China, focusing sa Hong Kong and Taiwan. So dito, their economic growth has been, sabi dito, phenomenal, which is annually or for the past 10 years, 5.5% ang kanilang real per capita growth. Ibig sabihin po, from 1970s hanggang the early 80s, they show signs of convergence. They grow rapidly, no? Especially sa China, no? It began to grow and the annual rates of increase is 8% to 10% per year. Kasama din po dyan ng India. Hindi siya part ng East Asian Tigers, pero from noong 1990s, halos 5% per year ang kanyang increase. So si India, si Philippines po, 5% ang kanyang increase rate ng GDP growth mula noong 1990 hanggang 2000. Ano ba ang cause? Ano ang naging dahilan kung bakit biglaan merong pag-increase ng GDP ng mga bansang ito, na China and the East Asian Tigers. Ang kanilang ginawa is yung savings, no? Fund savings, 1/3 or more of GDP as compared roughly in 1/5 of GDP. Parang sa GDP kasi natin, sa gross domestic product, the national income will be spent most usually for government spending, for investment, okay, what else? For consumption. Now, what did these countries prioritize? Yung savings. Bago mag-spend ng mas time, let's have some savings first, no? Incomparable with Latin America and Africa, mas mataas, no? Higher savings ang ginawa ng mga East Asian Tigers. And especially, they also focus dun sa tinatawag nating capital investment. Itong mga countries na biglang nagkaroon ng rapid growth sa kanilang, sa ekonomiya nila, what have they focused is yung investment in human capital. What does it mean pag sinabi nating human capital? The young generations, they have invested education, primary level education, expanding secondary level education, focusing the students to take math subject, focus on specific courses in terms of math, science, education, in which are useful sa engineering and businesses, di ba? This investment in human capital, yung mga magka-college at magiging college graduate natin, they will be useful sa ekonomiya. No, pag madami ang graduate ng BS in engineering, ano ba ang tawag dyan? Sa mechanical, civil engineering, yan, useful yan, especially if you are building infrastructures. Kasi di ba parang dito sa administrasyon ni Duterte, build programs. So hindi naman po, it will not only, assuming no, that there are a lot of projects, kailangan natin ng manpower. We will not alone be dependent sa artificial intelligence, no? Hindi ganon. These countries, ang ginawa nila, binugbog nila sa education. Kailangan may ma-produce silang professionals that will be useful in engineering and businesses. Okay? Ano pa? So una, sa education. Pangalawa, the government made a concerted effort dun sa applicable technology. What did they do? Some of these countries send their students abroad, no? They commission government, they send students and government commission abroad para dun maka-earn ng knowledge and skills. And after that, pagbalik dun sa origin country, mas nagiging kapaki-pakinabang sila. As you observe, there are a lot of international students sa US, sa Canada. Meron din po dito sa Philippines, no? Halimbawa yung mga Nigerian, sa VMU, sa Virgen Milagrosa University Foundation. There are a lot of medicine doctors, ano tawag doon? Medical students doon kumukuha ng mga courses ng, tapos babalik sila sa country nila and then doon sila magiging useful. Now, what else ang ginawa ng mga East Asian Tigers, mga countries dito? Innovation, no? Policies that supports innovative companies, yan. So, the sad reality here in the Philippines, we are not, probably the government is not so supportive for innovations from the small businesses and even the large companies. Or sa mga large companies lang, yung mga entrepreneurs na meron namang kakayahan, merong bright ideas, ay hindi masyadong napapansin. Ang ginawa sa China, Japan, China, South Korea, Singapore, Thailand, they invested doon sa mga innovations sa mga companies, and then they build production facilities, no? To take advantage of the abundant and expensive human capital. Because the human capital in these countries are very cheap, no? Parang sa Philippines, mababa lang binabayad sa mga laborers natin. Why not invest in facilities, no? Unlike if we're going to compare sa mga developed countries, not only mataas yung kanilang human capital, mahal ang mga bayad sa kanilang mga labor force. Kasama din that binobomba nila yung binobomba, no. They focus also in capital investment, yung production facilities. Dito sa mga middle income countries, mababa yung bayad sa mga labor force, kaya ibinabawi doon sa production facilities, yung mga buildings, yan. Si China and India in particular also allowed, what else? Yung tinatawag nating freedom for market forces, that you will not only focus on your borders. You go outside the international market. Open your products sa world market. So, kung mapapansin nyo, when Lazada came, when Shopee, Amazon, eBay, way before, limited lang sa mga US products ang eBay, ang Amazon, limited lang sa European companies. Pero ngayon, kung mapapansin nyo, ang China, most of the makikita nyo sa internet ay puro Chinese products, no? Indian products. Because China and India has opened their borders, allowing international markets, allowing other type of consumers or international consumers. Kaya kung sa mapapansin nyo sa Lazada, Shopee, and other platforms, galing pa ng China, galing pa ng ibang bansa, yung products natin. So, ito yung ginawa ng mga low income, middle income countries. First is investing sa human capital through education. So, ginagawa ba ng Philippines yun? Investing technology. What else? The capital investment and market-oriented economic context. So, kapag pinagsama-sama natin ito, makikita yung pagbilis ng ekonomiya natin. No? The problem here in the Philippines, though we have programs, no? Madami tayong mga courses actually. Kaya lang, kulang sa capital investment, kulang sa support by the government sa mga entrepreneurs natin, and hindi gaano tayo doon sa international markets. Although we are exporting our products, pero limited lang. Okay? So what are the challenges that faced by the middle income countries? Yung legacy government controls. Slowly, yung oras, hindi naman actually masyadong challenge. Wait lang po, maingay yung mga aso. Ayun, ano ba yun? Maingay kasi. Hindi agad-agad eh. Halimbawa, no, they have invested in education. Siyempre, it will take years for the students to learn hanggang matapos nila yung kailangang academic requirements. Thus, slowly but surely, no, the government has also sometimes selected certain industries. So, isa din pong challenge dito, kung saan yung mga government subsidies ay pili lang din, no, yung kanilang sinuportan or yung mga binigyan ng mga low interest loans, no. So, ito yung mga challenges na faced ng mga middle income countries. Yan. Ano naman ang ginagawa or mga policies ng mga economically challenged countries or yung mga mahihirap na bansa, yung tinatawag nating low income countries? Again, the Philippines is no longer part of low income countries, kasi as you observe, we are kasama natin ng India. Wait lang po, ang ingay ng aso. Yan, what are the policies, the growth policies that is observed sa mga regions na nasa Sub-Saharan SSA? Okay? Usually, ang characteristics or ang mga low-income countries na to are found sa mga dating Soviet bloc, yung mga dating nasa Soviet Union, yung Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, most of those countries na galing sa Soviet Union, and mga nasa Central America and the Caribbean, and of course the SSA region. Itong mga region na to, so they are landlocked usually, and their geographic characteristic might be the reason kung bakit ganun, hindi nag-i-increase, walang masyadong increase rate ng standard of living. What is being observed here, or the challenges, ay yung poverty. There is an extreme poverty and low of standard of living dito sa mga low-income countries na to. They have policies to make their mas magkaroon ng economic development, pero hindi ganun kabilis unlike kay yung mga nasa middle income countries. Okay? So, unang reason dyan is walang economic activity and legal stability, or walang economic stability and legal stability. Their market-oriented institution, okay, their climate, okay, probably hindi attractive sa foreign investment yung mismong country. Halimbawa, no, in comparison with the Philippines, marami tayong na-attract na international investment or FDI, foreign direct investment, because our country, marami siyang resources. Although marami na namang natural resources, halimbawa sa sub-Saharan region, kaya lang the nature, halimbawa disyerto nga, ano yung pwedeng resources na magamit doon. Okay? Itong mga low-income economies na to, they barely make it to their economic growth or yung GDP nila mas tumaas. Now, the international institutions such as the UN, the World Bank, they are trying to give assistance or help these low-income countries. First one, because there is a large number or high rate of poverty, mahirap nilang mapataas yung standard of living. That is why the World Bank always supports projects that will decrease poverty. Okay? So, halimbawa, no, yung isang project ng World Bank is sa Niger, the Niger country. Famine and hungerness, meron bang ganun na word? Yung gusto nilang mga suportahan na projects. One of the key obstacles to achieve this is yung tinatawag nating political instability. Their politics itself is the one that hinders yung pag-angat nila. Kasi yung mga politicians nila probably are corrupt. The resources, financial resources that must be used for public ay hindi nagagamit kasi naibubulsa at hindi napapakinagabangan ng public. So, political instability is the number one reason. Then, ito po yung details natin sa mga 10 lowest income countries natin. Kung mapapansin nyo, ito pong nandito sa gilid, the dollars, 2013 US dollars. This is the income per person annually. Okay? Ang pinakamababa ng income ng isang tao doon sa isang taon ay umaabot lamang ng $400. So kung times 50 yan, kung i-convert mo sa pesos, is nasa 2,000 lang sa kada tao doon ang kinikita sa buong taon. Mataas na ang 1,211 kay Afghanistan. Okay? Ibig sabihin, sa buong taon, the average na kinikita ng tao sa Afghanistan ay aabot lamang sa 1,000 or 1,200. Okay? So, itong mga bansang ito, they barely, if they have income, saan nila ni-spend? Hindi naman for buying appliances. Ano lang yon, for basic needs. It shows that nirank ng World Bank yung mga countries na ito base sa kanilang standard of living GDP per capita. Okay? The common traits ay yung failure of government to provide legal framework for economic growth. Mismo yung government nila, walang mga programs, no? Although they have programs, probably they are not being implemented successfully. Like for example, in the Philippines, we have economic growth programs. We have institution dito, yung tinatawag nating NEDA, the National Economic Development Authority. Yan. Si NEDA mag-a-assess ng mga economic growth projects that will be proposed sa cabinet, sa executive department, and then halimbawa no ang na assess ni NEDA is yung sa public health. So, i-discuss ito sa pagpupulong ng executive department. Of course, andyan ng mga Department of Health, DOH, DOST, Department of Science and Technology, DepEd, and other the cabinet members. Ngayon, lalaanan niya ng pondo and then magiging i-implement. So, these countries, probably they have also programs for economic development, but yun nga, they are politically unstable or hindi ganon kaayos yung politika nila. Halimbawa, no, before, ang Argentina halos halos dictatorship yung nangyayari sa kanila. Sa Belarus, ganun din. For some parts, sa Central African region or sa Sub-Saharan region, ganun yung nangyayari. Ethiopia and Eritrea, meron kasi silang civil and ethnic tawag dito, violence or conflict, or meron silang mga plagues, no, wars and plagues, no. Halimbawa no, sa Burundi and Liberia, yung sakit, yung mga plagues ang nagkukos sa kanila dito, yun ang pumipigil sa economic development. Yung mga working ages nila may sakit, nagkakasakit, nagkaka-AIDS, so hindi nakakapakinabang sa community. Corruption and political factionalism. So ito, fighting inside, no, na nakikita or commonly adopted elements sa mga low-income countries. Sa Congo alone, sa Congo po, or Democratic Republic of Congo, it is a resource-wealthy country. Kaya nga lang, no, yung kanilang political environment hindi ganun kaayos. Doon sa ating data kanina, yan, dito sa Congo, a person working, no, ang kanyang kinikita lamang sa buong taon ay aabot lang ng $20,000 per year. So I think that's half ng sahod ng isang din, half month na sahod ng isang din lamang sa Philippines for 1 month, no? Kumbaga, ito ay starting salary ng isang clerk sa government, 20,000 sa isang buwan lamang. Pero sa kanila, annual na. Yung 20,000 mo ay kikitain mo na to ng buong isang taon. So ganito kahirap sa Congo. Okay? Parang allowance lang, kumbaga, ng mga ibang estudyante sa atin sa WCC yung 20,000. They barely made it. If they have money, they will spend it sa kanilang basic needs, no? Low-income countries are at a disadvantage because any income, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, any income they receive are spent immediately saan? Sa food, no? Wala silang, kung kikita man sila, they're not going to use it for any luxury materials like buying car, cell phone, TV, and others. Basic needs first, yun ang pinaglalaanan ng kanilang income. People in these countries live only less than 1,035 per year. Dito yung sa Afghanistan, which is less than $100 per month. Lack of savings means lack of capital accumulation and lack of loanable funds for investment in physical and human capital. So ito nga, pag walang capital investment or walang savings sa isang government, there are no available means to loan for businesses. May isa pong itong dalawang to, si Banerjee and Duflo, they have conducted a research kung saan pinag-aralan nila yung dahilan kung bakit low income pa rin ang mga bansang ito. And they cannot master, these countries, they cannot master enough investment to push themselves out sa poverty. So halimbawa, no, ito yung labas na sa study ng dalawang researcher. The average citizen sa Burundi, ang lowest income nila is $150 per year. So how much is that? $150 times 0.50 sa Philippines. 7,500 lang. 7,500 lang ang annual na kinikita ng mga nakatira sa Burundi. That's noong 2005. Okay? According to CIA, noong 2013 daw, 90% of the Burundi's population ay naka-base agrarian. No? Ang main na crops nila ay coffee and tea. So their main focus sa production sa agriculture ay coffee and tea, and ito yung pinanggagalingan lamang ng kanilang income. Unlike sa Philippines, no, though we are before an agrarian country, pero most of our GDP output ay sa services, sa service industry, tourism, what else, sa recreational and other service related industries. So dito, only 1 in 2 children attend school. Yan, 'di ba? Sa atin, if 5 kayong magkakapatid, your parents will be able to send you to schools even if that is public, and kung meron pa talagang or nakakaangat sa private schools, no? Lahat 'yun papasok sa school. Sa kanila, if you have 2 children, isa lang ang nakakapasok sa school. Many are not in schools comparable doon sa developed countries. Kung mapapansin niyo po ito. This is what they call school. Ito na yung pinaka-school nila. Wala man lang blackboard, wala man lang cover yung kanilang, wala man bubong, walang upuan, nagdadala lang yung mga bata ng bangko. Wala silang materials for writing. Okay? So this is already a school sa kanila sa mga low-income countries. Estimated na population sa Burundi, 15% of them ay may HIV at saka AIDS. So halimbawa, no, there are 2 million na population. Let's say for example, 2 million ang population sa Burundi times 0.15. So 300,000 sa kanila may AIDS. What if those 300,000 pa ay mga working age, no? From 15 or 16 to 35 years old. So 15% ng kanilang population ay may sakit, may AIDS. Hindi naman to masyadong productive kasi nga mahina ang katawan. And another thing, political instability. This is the reason, one reason why it is difficult for that country, the Burundi, na magkaroon ng growth, no? Actually, ang mga bahay po doon ay ang kuryente, only 2% of the total household ay may kuryente. Okay? And 42% of the income ng mga tao doon ay galing sa mga foreign aid, na galing sa mga the World Health Organization, World Bank, UNESCO, all those international aid. Yan. This is the picture of Burundi. Yan. If compare natin sa Philippines, at least ang Philippines may mga maayos pang classroom, di ba? Everybody is attending school. What else? You have ang tawag dito, hindi natin pinaghihirapan masyado yung pag-attend ng school. For some parts here in the Philippines, though, challenging yung pupunta sa schools. Pero hindi ganitong itsura ng katulad sa Burundi. Yan. Yung sinasabi ko kanina. The photograph in this presentation, this is what we already call, or sa kanila, a classroom, no? Not even any technology, even chairs and desks. Yan. Other low-income countries share similar stories, no? Yun na sa top 10 natin. These countries found difficult to generate investment. Okay? Kaya ang kanilang hope na lang is laging sa foreign aid. And they also hindi inviting sa foreign investors yung country na yon. Okay? Unang-una, politically, masyadong corrupt probably yung mga bansang to o yung mga politicians sa bansang to. So, hindi nakaka-invite ng foreign investment. Okay? What else? Yan, wala na. So, this is the growth policies for different types of economies. The high-income economies, yung mga US, Canada, some European countries. Middle income countries such as the East Asian countries, 4 nations, India, China, Philippines, and Southeast Asian countries, and the growth policies for low-income economies. Yan. So, we will probably realize that the government is doing its part sa country natin to elevate, to create development sa ating ekonomiya. Kasi, lahat, especially the public, are the ones that benefits these policies by our government. So this is the topic, the healthy society, the requirement for healthier society. Ang isang society na may magandang standard of living, everybody has work, or most of this population has work, may economic growth, okay, napupunan ng pangangailangan ng bawat individual, and may economic stability. Okay? So that's our discussion. I hope that you have learned something dun sa topic natin na requirement for healthier society. Bye-bye everybody. Have a nice day.